starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lumada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, it brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lumada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lumada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning, and welcome to Storytime. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm glad that we're here together. Yes, another story coming our way, and today is indeed one that I love so much, and I'm sure most of you do too as well. And if you haven't been introduced yet, well, welcome, and we're happy to introduce you to this one. It is a special one coming from CANDLEWICK Press, and it is written by Maggie Tokuda-Hall and illustrations by Imamura. And this one is called Love in the Library. Yes, coming right up. Get ready for this one. Get comfortable, get cozy. Sweet story, but also powerful message, and the setting too is just one that definitely that is wrenching. But I hope that with this powerful story that comes out of it, this powerful story continues to push on us, and of course generations to come. Thank you so much for being here with us on Storytime. Excited to be here as always, and I hope that you enjoy this one. Thank you for joining in out here in Oakland. It is calm right now, still a little bit dark outside. Weather I think will be a little bit mild, and we're actually expecting some sprinkles out here. So if you're in and around the Oakland area or in the Bay Area, just do check the weather before you go out, and maybe you might be needing that rain jacket after all. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I am glad you're here. How is it where you are? And how are you doing today? So good to be here together. And when was the last time you went to the library? What book did you pick? Or are you doing audiobooks now? Well, thank you so much for being here with us on Storytime. And as always, a big thank you indeed to the many creators that allow us to share so many wonderful books here on Storytime. Please don't forget to join us next week. We have guests galore coming to Storytime, and of course, amazing guests. So we do have Monica Wesolowska and Ken Pack, who will be here with us as well. And then we'll be joined as well by Nadia Solomon, and just looking forward to so many amazing guests. Angela Henderson will be with us, and we'll keep you updated as that list keeps growing. And of course, excited to be here next week. Special guests all the way through. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. And let's get ready, let's get cozy, let's get comfortable, and see who is with us this morning. Thank you so much for joining in. Well, good morning to you if you're here right now. Thank you for joining us. We see you, appreciate you. And for those that are joining us later on for the recordings, well, thank you for being here. And of course, leave us a message too, so we can say hi to you later on. Thank you for being here. And thank you for taking the time, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, or whatever time it is that you are finally getting a chance to catch up on this story time. Well, thank you so much for joining in Storytime. And always a pleasure being here. Always an honor to be here with you, read with you, and of course share amazing stories with you, and just be in community together. Thank you for joining us on Storytime. Lots of books that I'm excited about coming out, and One of them just received his Grant Snyder's new book. What do you do on a great day? I will be looking forward. Hopefully, we can bring that one to story time soon. Yes, fingers crossed for that one. Thank you so much for joining in. Please get comfortable, get cozy, get ready as we will be reading this powerful book, Love in the Library, written by Maggie Tokuda-Hall, illustrations by Yas Imamura. And we're reading this one with permission of the publishers, CANDLEWICK Press. Join me on the other side of this short break when we're back with more story time. And our guest is, I've already been to story time, but I just thought we should revisit and look at their book one more time and just get to hear from them one more time. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Davis. I am the author of Moonlight Memories.
Hi, my name is Michelle Jing Chan, and I'm the illustrator for Moonlight Memories.
Moonlight Memories releases on June 13th with Worthy Kids, # book group.
The story follows a young girl named Piper who is dealing with grief after losing her mom. Her dad gifts her a telescope, and she begins to use this to see patterns in the stars, which she transforms into sketches and drawings of memories with her mom. Through this story, Piper learns how to find healing and to process her emotions through the beauty of creativity and the arts.
And the text was inspired by my own personal experience with the loss of my father when I was young. I used art and writing as a tool to help process and heal. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was providing me with comfort and still does to this day. Comfort and healing and calm.
For the illustrations, I also drew upon my own experiences with grief and the experience of losing my grandmother. I was really drawn to the whimsical language Amanda uses in the manuscript and how she's able to portray difficult emotions such as grief in such a beautiful and whimsical way.
And we are so excited to be coming to Storytime with Mr. Lamada on June 15th. We can't wait to see you there and talk more about the book. So we will see you then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Welcome back. Thank you indeed, Amanda Davis and Michelle Jing Chan. And of course, their book, if you've not checked it out, please do so at Storytime platforms. Of course, indeed, I hope that your library carries it as well. Moonlight Memories, a sweet story. Encourage you to check it out. Really beautiful book, and as you can tell too from the little description that they gave, it is a one that I think we all must read. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime, and of course, thank you, Michelle and Amanda, for that message. Good morning to you, Amanda West. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course, Sarah and Nathan. And you're saying it is overcast out there in Illinois. It's a gray day here right now, but we know what to do. Snuggle in for story time. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for joining in. And always a pleasure having you here with us. And yes, we're here for that gray day. Thank you so much for joining in story time. And I think you will love Grant Snyder's new book, What Do You Do on a Great Day? Seems like you have the solution right there. Thank you so much for joining in. Megan and of course Ari, thank you for joining us out in rainy Kentucky. Oh, the Barbies are here too. Hi. How are you doing? Is Ken there too? Thank you so much for joining in. All right, let's get ready for our story. Here we go. This one is called Love in the Library. It is written by Maggie Tokuda-Hall, illustrations by Yas Imamura, and we're reading this one with permission of the publishers, CANDLEWICK Press. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. And right on time, Chad, thank you for joining us. And of course, Auntie Ann and Auntie Pam out in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Thank you so much for joining in. Hopefully it is still cool out there. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, here we go. Ooh. And you know that this story is based on the grandparents of Maggie Tokuda-Hall. So as we read, just thinking about that. And also too, deeper topics that we'll go into. And I will read the back matter for this one because I think it is an important one that we should share. So at the end of the book, we're just going to go through the back matter as well with some powerful words from Maggie Tokuda-Hall. Here we go. No Andes for this one though, Auntie Pam. Love in the Library, written by Maggie Tokuda-Hall, illustrations by Imamura, and we're reading this one with permission of the publishers, CANDLEWICK Press. Tama did not like the desert. She brushed the dust from her eyes as she walked to the library. The barbed wire fences and guard towers cast long shadows over the path. She always did her best not to look at the guards. Yeah. Tama did not like the desert. She brushed the dust from her eyes as she walked to the library. The barbed wire fences and guard towers cast long shadows over the path. She always did her best not to look at the guards. Tama had taken the job in the library because she liked books. She didn't know how to be a librarian, but that didn't matter. In the camps, people did the jobs that needed doing, and that was that. "Good morning, Tama," a voice boomed. It was George. Like every other day, George was waiting at the door for Tama with the stack of books he had checked out only the day before. "Good morning, George," Tama replied. He waited for her to unlock the library and then he followed her inside. Tama and George had been in Minidoka for a year already. She should have graduated college the previous summer, but instead, Tama was here. All the Japanese Americans from the West Coast were in prison camps like Minidoka. Elderly people, children, and even babies. It didn't matter who you were, just what you were. And being Japanese American then was treated like a crime. Although each camp was different, they were all the same, uncomfortable and unjust. In the summer, it was brutally hot. In the winter, it was brutally cold. Rain in the fall and spring left mud around the latrines they all needed to use. Whole families shared single rooms. No one had any privacy. Yeah, just letting that one sit here for a minute. In the summer, it was brutally hot. In the winter, it was brutally cold. Rain in the fall and spring left mud around the latrines they all needed to use. Whole families shared single rooms. No one had any privacy. Tama did not know when she would leave Minidoka, if she ever would. But there was nothing to be done about that. So she worked in the library and watched as each day passed her by. Some days, many people would come to the library and borrow something to read. Other days, especially when it snowed, hardly anyone would brave the cold just for a book. But most days were the same. Tama kept her eyes down and tried not to think about the life she used to have. There was a word that described this. Tama knew. Constant. Constant questions, constant worries, constant fear. But then there was also George and his big smile. There was also George. George and his big smile were constant. And the books were constant company, which was nice. Tama loved books. Caught in their pages were words bursting with color and light, love and fairness. Pressed between their covers were words that planted seeds in the garden of Tama's mind. How magical that, even in Minidoka, such a small little library could fit so much inside of its four walls. Yeah, libraries are a special thing, aren't they? Tama kept a word for that too, nestled close to her heart. Miraculous, she whispered. What was that? Asked George. His voice was so big it barely fit in the library. Tama blushed. Then she held up her finger to remind him of the ruse. They were in the library, after all. George just went on grinning at her. Tama wanted to smile back. She tried to focus on the things that made her smile. The boys outside, hollering and cheering as they played baseball, the books themselves, and the smell of their pages. But she could not make herself smile. She sighed. What's wrong? George asked. Nothing or everything, Tama said. She did not need to tell him what she meant. He knew. Everyone in Minidoka knew. I try not to complain. I know this isn't fair, but I also know there is nothing to be done. I try not to be afraid, but I'm just so. But she could not think of a word that was right. She was scared and sad and confused and frustrated and lonely and hopeful all at once. Maybe there was no word that fit. Maybe for the first time in her life, there was no single word she could hold in her heart to help her understand. And that thought was so sad to Tama, so upsetting, that she felt the hot prickle of tears behind her eyes. Hey, George said, and for once his voice was small and soft. There's a word for that, you know. There is? Hope bubbled big and bold in Tama's heart. Human, George said. He smiled his big smile, and Tama smiled back. She wiped her eyes. She held the word close to her heart and felt less alone than she had only a moment before. You can't possibly be reading all those books you check out, she said. No, he replied. Do you see how long they are? I am only human, you know. So then, why come every day? She laughed, but George was not laughing. And then, for the first time, she saw him, really saw George, and saw what he held close to his heart. It was her, Tama. They were married, Tama and George, and their first son was born in Minidoka. They hoped for the best. Their love for the family they made was constant, even if the injustice their family was created within was constant too. To fall in love is already a gift. But to fall in love in a place like Minidoka, a place built to make people feel like they weren't human, that was miraculous. That was humans doing what humans do best. To fall in love is already a gift. But to fall in love in a place like Minidoka, a place built to make people feel like they weren't human, that was miraculous. That was humans doing what humans do best. Yeah. The miracle is in us, Tama wrote in her journal. As long as we believe in change, in beauty, in hope. That miracle is hard to find sometimes, but it is in all of us. Yeah. The miracle is in us, Tama wrote in her journal. As long as we believe in change, in beauty, in hope. The miracle is hard to find sometimes, but it is in all of us. And that is the end of our story. And there's Tama and George in that picture. I'll catch you on the other side of this short break so we can read through our author's note. Thank you so much for joining me on Storytime. I hope this beautiful love story, powerful message, but also the scene around it and what happened with the Japanese American prison camps is something that we need to be talking about, something that we need to definitely be diving into with our little ones and definitely in our communities so we can understand, we know where this country is coming from, and just so many things that need to be corrected, and of course hopefully that we learned something from these histories that we've had, right? Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. I'll catch you on the other side of this short break. Thank you for being here with us on Storytime.
Hey, this is Timothy Goodspeed of the Soapbox Salute. I'm the one who wrote Storytime's theme song. If you'd like to hear more of my protest folk music, you can check out the links below on Instagram or at my website. You are watching Storytime with Mr. LaMotta.
Thank you so much for joining in. Yes, Timothy Dixon, and what a catchy song, isn't it? Thank you so much for that. And it is his birthday actually coming up. Happy early birthday, brother. Thank you so much. And looking forward to celebrating you this weekend. Thank you for being here with us on Storytime. Happy early birthday, Timothy Dixon. But of course, too, before we go, I promised that we would read the back matter of this book, or at least the author's note in this book, in our book today, which is Love in the Library, written by Maggie Tokuda-Hall and illustrations by Imamura. And this one is published by CANDLEWICK Press. Here we go. Author's note. This is a true story. Well, mostly. George and Tama were my maternal grandparents. They had 5 children, including my mother. They truly did meet in Minidoka, a Japanese incarceration camp in Idaho. Tama was the camp librarian. Their first son, Floyd, was born there. But the dialogue is imagined, save for one line. The miracle is in all of us. Those are Tama's exact words taken from her journal. After the nation of Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which caused citizens of Japanese ancestry on the West Coast to be relocated. This was tidy language used to obfuscate the truth that American citizens were to be wrongfully imprisoned for the crime of being Japanese. The 120,000 Japanese Americans were incarcerated, lost their jobs, their homes, their educations, and their possessions. They had to go on short notice to relocation centers and then incarceration camps with only what they could carry. Family heirlooms, cherished belongings, pets, so much was left behind by necessity. They might need food, tools, clothes. They didn't know. They weren't told, and so they left their lives behind. Robbed of their rights and their dignity, Americans who found themselves in squalor and destitution made the best of their lives that they could in the camps. And that, to me, is the great wonder of this story, that even under those circumstances, the terrible injustice, Tama and George found love. Yes, robbed of their rights and their dignity, Americans who found themselves in squalor and destitution made the best of their lives that they could in the camps. And that, to me, is the great wonder of this story, that even under those circumstances, that injustice, or that terrible injustice, Tama and George found love. That is not to say that it was worth it. Their improbable joy does not excuse the virulent racism, nor does it minimize the pain, the trauma, and the deaths that resulted from it. But it is to situate it into the deeply American tradition of racism. As much as I would hope this would be a story of a distant past, it's not. It's very much the story of America here and now. The racism that put my grandparents in Minidoka is the same hate that keeps children in cages on our border. It's the myth of white supremacy that brought slavery to our past and allows the police to murder Black people in our present. It's the same fear that brings Muslim bans. It's the same contempt that creates voter suppression, medical apartheid, and food deserts. The same cruelty that carved reservations out of stolen sovereign land that paved the trail of tears. Hate is not a virus. It is an American tradition. And yet, so many of us find improbable joy. Our capacious hearts find the love that our nation has denied us, just as Tama and George did, in the face of all that hate. Though it is always easier to destroy than it is to build, reminding myself of stories like Tama and George reminds me to hope, to let my heart seek out the beauty and the peace of the marginalized miraculously create for themselves, to let myself imagine a future where that love is not improbable, but easy, to force myself to fight for that future. Because if we can fall in love, if we can find joy, if we can find that miracle despite all of those truths, what else can we do? That is the end. Those are the words of Maggie Tokuda-Hall. Powerful indeed. And something for us to think about. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. And when we think of some of these things that have happened in our nation, sometimes it's hard to, it is the hard truth, and it is hard to deal with, to talk about, but we must, so we're not going back and making the same mistakes. And and as the book encourages us to, I hope we can have that hope. Let's find that hope. I hope that this, today just provokes your mind, provokes your heart, and gets you thinking, hopeful. I know too, frustration. Like the book mentions, so many emotions that could go through, right? We know that there's one page that just talked about all the different things that that Tama was feeling, and George did refer to those as being human. And I just thought that is very powerful. Let me see if I can find it here and just read it one more time. And it's just a powerful here. It says of Tama, but she could not think of a word that was right. She was scared and sad and confused and frustrated and lonely and hopeful all at once. And I know we may be in that position as well, but I hope that we continue to shine that light, shine that love. And thank you indeed for being in this community with us, where we can continue to, push ourselves to think critically about things, and of course to question the things that happen around us, and of course to turn up, to show up, to speak up when we need to. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. One more time, let us see who was with us enjoying that powerful story. Thank you for being here with us on Storytime. Yes, indeed. Happy early birthday, Tim. We sing his song all the time. I will be sure to share that with him. Thank you so much. And of course, to Pamela, Courtney, Chad, and Auntie Anne, and you say happy birthday, Timothy, from the Courtneys. Well, thank you, and I will definitely be passing on those messages. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. This author's not. Oh my goodness, I have no words except thank you. I know. Every time I read it, same sentiment. Thank you so much, Pamela, Courtney, and of course Chad and Auntie Anne. Thank you for joining us on Storytime today. Powerful message indeed. What an important book. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Thank you for being in this space with us, and indeed for allowing our little ones to be in spaces like this so we can tackle issues like this at times and just talk about them, share, and whether we're feeling confused, sad, angry, frustrated, hopeful, whatever we're feeling, if it's all of those things at once, it is okay, because as the book says, yes, we are human, and let's find that love. Let's keep finding that love. Let's take it from here. And indeed, hopefully we're sharing it with our loved ones as well. I appreciate this space so much. Thank you for being here with us on Storytime. And one more time to Amanda, thank you for joining us out in Illinois, where you say it is gray today, overcast, and it's gray out there. Thank you for being here. And of course, Sarah and Nathan, we appreciate you. And please, you sound so cozy right now. I hope you enjoyed this book, but I also hope that you find others to read as well and enjoy and continue snuggling up and having more story times. Thank you so much for joining in. And talking of more story times, well, there are more at storytimewithmrlimada.com, at Storytime with Mr. Limada on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for being here with us on Storytime. All right, Pamela, Courtney, I got you. Thank you so much for joining in. I will do that. I will most certainly do that. That is a great idea. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. I appreciate you all. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day, a wonderful Thursday. Yes, indeed. It is already Thursday. This week is flying by and I have homework to submit. No. Slow down, Days. Slow down. Thank you so much for being here, friends. Oh, I absolutely appreciate you. My heart is full as always after being here with you. Have yourselves a wonderful day. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Yes, it is the plan. I will be here tomorrow. I plan to be here tomorrow. And if the powers be allowed, I will be right here reading books together with you. And tomorrow, I bring back one. We're talking about hope and wishing and everything, and just, like things to hold on to. And tomorrow we'll be reading I Wish You More. We're bringing back that one, bringing it back, closing off on a Friday. I Wish You More, coming to us from Amy Kraus Rosenthal and Tom Lichtenhout. And that one will be coming to us from Chronicle Books as well. Thank you so much for being here, friends. Absolutely appreciate you. Hugs. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Story time with Mr. Limada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Limada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Limada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Limada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing from my neighborhood. Story time. Ooh. Story time. Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh. He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing